Hey developers! Today we're going to talk about the 5 most requested features for Vue.js in 2018. This is a blog on Vue.jsdevelopers.com. If you don't know it, Anthony Gore is an amazing developer. He actually runs a really great Facebook group and also a website. This is his website on Vue.js, and he writes quite a bit of blog articles. So I thought I would just go ahead and go over some of the features for this. I'll leave a link for this below if you guys are interested. So make sure you click on that. And before we start, let's have a quick word from our sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Progress. Now, if you don't know who Progress is, they're behind Kendo UI. They created NativeScript. They do a lot of stuff in the mobile development landscape, and they created this ebook. It's 100% free. In the description below, make sure you click on the link. You can put your email address in and get this ebook, and it has everything about the mobile development landscape. It's actually a pretty interesting read. It talks about mobile development in the early days and what it's like to create mobile apps today. So make sure you click on that link in the description and you can download this free ebook, and let's begin. All right, so let's take a look here. And like I said, the link for this blog article will be listed below, but it's the 5 most requested features for Vue.js in 2018. I thought I'd just go over this and kind of give you some of my opinions on some of the things that Anthony put up here. So kind of TLDR, here's the 5 things he was mentioning. So we'll go one by one. So support for iterable protocol with v4. So this is basically saying that the v4 directive inside Vue.js is somewhat limited. It can do arrays and certain types of iterable objects, but this one, so you can iterate arrays and plain objects, but not other iterable objects or data types. If you're using a map, for example, and you want to iterate with the v4, you'll first have to convert it to an array or plain object. So map sets and other new iterable data types are not reactive either. And so this is kind of a big maybe if it'll be added. I don't know if this is a really big issue. On my Vue.js apps, I've used v4 plenty of times. If I'm doing something more complicated, I'll use a computed property and I'll kind of make my own array or whatever object I want to use to return it. I don't know if this is a big issue, but it's kind of interesting that this is being considered as something that is a requested feature for Vue.js. So I keep an eye out on this. I don't think this is really something that I'm really looking forward to, but I'm certain that some people want a better version of v4. Multi-root templates. Now this thing does kind of annoy me. So I don't know if you guys have ever created a Vue app and you've noticed that you have to have a single root node. That means, so if you have something like this, you have template and you have a div, you have a self-closing div tag and template, that's valid. But if you have 2 div tags, that's not valid. So you have to have this special wrapper basically anytime you create a template. So here's a template here, you'll have this div tag and you have the template down here. Here, I'll make this a little bigger so you can see it. So you can see here, this is kind of what you see normally. You have this template, and then you always end up putting this div tag that does nothing, and then you put your child components, because if you just put the child components here, it won't work. So you always have to have this like wrapper inside your templates. And basically, you have some instances where this is kind of a pain. Like, for example, if you have a parent element with display flex, having a wrapper between the parent children won't work. So this pattern won't work because of the wrapper. And then basically, according to the maintainers, the way virtual DOM diffing algorithm works, making this feature difficult to implement and require a major rewrite. So it's not on the roadmap for any change. I guess it's a little bit annoying depending on if you ever run into a situation like this, but it's not that big of a deal. But I've definitely noticed, especially for new beginners, they don't understand you need this, and it can be like a stumbling block at first, that you have to have this, always have this root element here. Reactive refs. So I don't know, I think I did one video on this. So it's talking about that most of the time when you're using components and you mutating state, you usually use props and events, and that's how you pass things from one component to a child component. But you can actually use something called refs, which are kind of a way to pass information another way to your child components. In previous videos, I talked about using inject and provide. In my last video, I also talked about using other ways of passing information like adders. This is yet another way, But the problem with it is if you kind of shortcut it in using this .refs, it's not reactive. So basically saying for a parent component to track a child's component data, you must emit changes via events. Tracking child's valid states, you might have something like this where you have this @valid update email, and then you have this here. You're passing into the form input. And basically you can use this ref email, and then you have access to it. But this actually won't work because refs isn't reactive. So his argument is that this special $refs should be reactive. So that way when this is passed in to the child, that if it does get changed, then you'll have access to it in the parent component and it'll be automatically updated. So, and basically the maintainers of Vue.js have said that it kind of goes against good component design. I think there's so many ways you can pass stuff from the child or from the parent to the child and using props and emit actions back. And like I said, provide and eject and adders and everything. I don't think this is necessary. Of course, also using Vuex too, if you're passing stuff between multiple different components. But I could see how some cases this might be worthwhile. Custom V model modifiers. Can use the V model directed to create two-way data binding and form inputs. So essentially when you use V model, it's like a two-way data binding. But if you don't know, and I think I've did a video on this too, you can actually use .number. There's, I believe there's like 2 or 3 more modifiers you can put on V model. And his argument is, why not be able to create custom ones for V model? So that way, like you can do different phone numbers and do it that way. And he's basically, the way you do that now is with computed properties, or you create like a custom input component, like your custom in component needs to be created where the transform logic occurs before the event is emitted. So once again, this is kind of an unlikely thing to be added. So this is an interesting idea. You know, I've noticed when I was researching Vue.js for the first time, I'm like, wow, it has 3 different V model modifiers. I didn't think it was that great. In fact, let's see here. Let's see what 3 are. I can't remember off the top of my head. Yeah, so it has .lazy, .number, .trim is your 3 you get. Most people use .number. So basically you can sync the input of the data for each input. For lazy, number is essentially automatically typecast it as a number. And .trim, if you want user to be trimmed automatically, you can add the trim modifier. Those are all pretty handy, but I know it's weird you only have 3 of them and you can't, create your own. All right, let's move on here. And one more thing he has here is package for custom renderers. Currently, Vue render is hard-coded for HTML elements, as Vue is initially intended to use for only the web. The idea of the feature is to isolate the HTML renderer from the main Vue package. So I haven't gone over this too much, but usually you can use templates, but you can actually use the render function inside Vue.js to create special type of components. It's not really idiomatic. That's not really the way a lot of people use Vue.js, but you can kind of use it like this render function. It's almost like you're writing JSX. And then you can create special rendered components. And there's some special use cases you can use for that, which I won't get in right now. But he's basically saying, why don't we take this render package and this render and pull it out of the Vue and make its own package? And I guess that is happening. And that way, special APIs, and they can do more custom work on the render function for the future. So those are the 5 things that he came up with. Anthony came up on this article. Definitely a lot of things to think about. I know this, Vue.js is moving really quickly. It's gaining a lot of popularity, and some people have suggested a lot of different features, and it's really to find out which ones are going to come out and which ones are not is up for debate. You can actually go to the Vue GitHub issue board, and you can kind of see what people are talking about, what people want new features on. Here's a feature request here. Check if tag is already in the Windows custom element registry on top of checking configure Node elements. So what do you guys think? Is these new features something you would want to see in later versions of Vue.js? Let me know in the comments below. I really appreciate it. And if you guys are big fans of Vue.js, let's just let you know, I do have a book. It's called Vue.js in Action. It's completely out right now. You can buy it on Amazon. You can also buy it on the Manning website. It's published by Manning. I go over everything you need to know on Vue.js, from a beginner to intermediate and even some more advanced topics. We don't go into everything, but it's a great starter for you. So if you're interested in Vue.js, please check it out. I have a link below in the comments, a link below in the description, and also leave a comment what you think on this article. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks.